friends, and welcome to another knit and chat video. I'm Emily, and today I'm just going to be knitting on a project and chatting. I do have a specific theme that I'm going to be using for this video, but I'll talk about that in a second. It's Friday, June 24th. I may be looking a little bit disheveled. For those of you that don't know, I am just over 7 months pregnant with my first baby, and third trimester energy drops have been hitting like nobody's business the last couple of weeks. I just not really, honestly, I just haven't had as much energy. Like, that's what it boils down to. I have not been sleeping quite as well, and so during the day I'm just much more tired and kind of out of it, which I was expecting. I was kind of waiting for it to happen, and it has definitely started happening. Pretty much as soon as I hit the 7-month mark, my body was just like, okay, this baby is getting fat now. We're depleting you of much of your expected energy. Which I don't mind. That's exactly what the baby's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be getting nice and plump and squishy all ready for his arrival. But goodness, it does make it difficult to get as much done as I would like to. And this video is actually a good example of that. I have been racking my brain for the last, week or so, trying to think about what I wanted to talk about, what topic I was going to use. I kept bouncing back and forth between a number of different topics, and anyway, as I was saying, I might look a little disheveled. I just took a nap about 30 minutes ago, and so my hair might be a little bit messy. And I'm also a little bit flushed looking, it looks like. It is still very, very, very warm here in Tennessee. Very sunny and summer-like, honestly. So let's talk about what I'm working on today. I realized, especially after last time of doing this knit and chat, that I get a little bit too invested in what I'm talking about, and so I need something very simple and mindless to knit on. I was trying to knit on a sock, and I even messed up with that one a couple of times because of the, I was doing the gusset decreases, and I would forget that I was on a decrease row. Oops. So today I am working on my patchwork blanket project, which actually does have a decrease round every other row, but hopefully I've made enough squares on it, so hopefully I'll be able to still concentrate and remember to do the decrease. So this is kind of what it's looking like at this point. We've got 4 different colors that I am matching up here together, and then I am just slowly adding square by square whenever I feel like working on it. There we go. And these are just bias squares with a center double decrease. It's kind of a close-up of what the square looks like. And in case you're curious, I am knitting this out of fingering weight yarn. This is all my hand-dyed yarn that I had single skeins of, so it wasn't enough to do any sort of a bigger project, if you will, with any of the individual colors. So I decided to combine them all together into this very springy colored blanket. And I cast on 61 stitches, and then I will go through and decrease, doing the center double decreases, and until I have no more stitches left. And that's about it. Yeah, it's a very fun, very mindless, simple project to work on. It's all garter stitch, which I'm a big fan of, especially if it's something where some days I like a little more complicated projects. Other days I just do not. I just want something that's kind of mindless that I don't have to think about, but it can keep my hands busy. And so I love garter stitch projects so much. They're honestly one of my favorites. It's a goal of mine at some point to make an entire garter stitch sweater. I think that would be really, really lovely, really classic. Yeah. So today I am just drinking water. This has been my constant companion this entire pregnancy, as I try to make sure that I stay properly hydrated, which is important in general, but even more so when you're pregnant. So, what is the topic for today? the topic for today, I was going to do a sort of get to know me, ask me anything sort of a video, but then I realized that I just needed more time to come up with a list of questions to answer, and I hadn't done that, so it wouldn't work to try and do that rushed last minute. But I will say, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer in a Ask Me Anything sort of video, please feel free to leave it in a comment down below. I would absolutely love that. It is one of those things that those are some of my favorite types of videos to watch. I feel like they're really interesting to learn about people and the things that they like to do, and yeah, just different aspects about their life. It's just so fascinating. So whether that's marriage, relationship, books, pregnancy, knitting, sewing, honestly, I love any topic. I love hearing about any topic in people's lives. It's so much fun. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below and I will stockpile them away for another Knit and Chat episode. But today I decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about dream knitting projects off of my Ravelry favorites and Ravelry library, I guess you could say. And this is because I have so many projects that I want to work on right now. It's honestly a bit ridiculous, but again, declining energy from being quite pregnant does not make it easy to accomplish things very quickly. And so I realized that this would be a really fun way to be able to talk about some of the projects that I really want to work on, but I can't just yet because I am limiting myself to make sure that I don't just cast on loads of things and then baby gets here and then I have hundreds of works in progress that I could never possibly finish. But there are a number of patterns and things that I feel like just recently I just have been feeling so inspired, and I've been watching different knitting podcasts and such, and people will talk about the projects that they're working on, which then leads me down rabbit holes on Ravelry with different new to me patterns or designers. And there are so many things that I want to make, like so many. And since, as if you are a knitter, you know, there's never enough time in the day and there is never enough hands to do all of the knitting that we want to do, I thought it would be really nice to be able to kind of chit chat. It'd be a really simple little video, not too long. I want to make a nice supper for my husband tonight because it's Friday and we've had a busy kind of rough couple of weeks. Just he's had a lot of stuff going on with work, and we've had more social events and stuff than we typically do, and I am definitely a very much a hermit introvert. He's a little bit less so than me, but both of us are just kind of feeling tired and peopled out, and I realized that as it is Friday, it would be really nice to make him a lovely dinner. So I'm going to try and keep things kind of short here, but we'll see. When I start talking about knitting and such, I can get very chatty. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to be going over just a few different categories of different projects and patterns and things that I would love to be able to work on. And I will say, if this isn't anything that you're interested in, I totally understand. I kind of picked this topic last minute just because it seemed something simple and easy that I could talk about for a little while. But if it's not your thing, no hard feelings. I'll be back next week with a regular podcast episode, and then hopefully the following week I'll have some sort of a Ask Me Anything question Q&A video. But let's go ahead and jump into it. I have it kind of divided into, I think, about 4 or 5 different sections. I have some children's patterns that I'm going to talk about really quickly here at the beginning. They're not even clothes, they're toys. Because, let's be honest, I love little hand knit toys. There are so many of them that I've wanted to knit for absolutely ages. And now that I'm about to have a baby, it makes it even worse because I keep finding more. So there's toys, I think there's, let me see, shawls, sweaters or garments, and then I think there's a couple of sock patterns that I popped in there. So first off, this is one that I think I talked about in my most recent podcast episode. I I'm very soon going to be casting on the Mole in a Sweater pattern by Julie Williams of Little Cotton Rabbits. It is just the cutest little pattern. I absolutely love it. I love so many of her different patterns, but this is one that it was her most recent release, and I love it so much. If you have been around this channel for any length of time, you'll know that I am a massive fan of the Redwall series by Brian Jakes, and the moles in there are definitely some of my favorite characters. So when she released this, I just knew that this was going to be happening very quickly. It's probably going to be one of the first little toys that I knit for the baby, just because it is so cute. And I actually do have the yarn for that one, I believe. Or did I have not bought that yarn yet? No, I think I did buy the yarn. I think I talked about that in my last knit and chat video. So that one is going to be happening very soon. I have a little sweater test knit for the baby that I need to get out of the way, and then I'm going to be making that one. Then the next one that I want to make, and that I do have the yarn for, and again is one that I believe I talked about in the last knit and chat video, is the Hobbs toy, which is a pattern by Anna Stiverbala, I believe. And it's a free pattern, and it is adorable. I have all of the yarn for it, and I am so excited to start working on it. Again, this is another one that is going to be happening pretty much immediately as soon as I finish a couple of other projects. That one is going to be happening because I want to have that one done before the baby's born because it's so cute. And if you're not familiar, it's a character from a comic strip that was written and illustrated by Bill Watterson, and it is, in my opinion, one of the all-time best comic strips. Yeah, I absolutely love it. So that's the second one. The third one, this is a new discovery for me. This is another one of those I was playing around on Ravelry and accidentally found this and discovered that I need it. And it is the Woodland Beans. It's a number of different patterns, and I will pop up a picture here, as I'm doing with all of these. These are designed by Emma Mary Sked, I believe is how you pronounce it. And they are these adorable, just like little round, oval kind of color work. I'm assuming maybe in Tarja. I'm not entirely sure. Little woodland animals. And there's a collection of 11 or 12 of them, I think. 10. It says there's 10. And I think that they are just the cutest little thing. And I don't even remember how I found this. It was an accident. But there's a whole, you can buy each of them individually, or you can just buy the whole ebook. And I'm pretty sure I'm just going to buy the whole ebook because they are so cute. And I think it would be adorable to have a little basket full of these little woodland animal beans. Like, also that was just the door shutting because the AC kicked on. But yeah, so this is a recent discovery and I just love it. It is so cute. And they look really, really simple too, like very quick knits. So I'm going to keep that one. That one probably won't happen as soon as the Badger and Hobbs, or not Badger, the Mole and Hobbs, but pretty quickly. And then the last one for the hand knit toys is the River Otter pattern by Sarah Elizabeth Kellner. If you have not looked at Sarah Elizabeth Kellner's patterns, she has some of the cutest, most amazing little animal patterns. I absolutely love her designs. They're semi-realistic, like they're pretty realistic looking, and I think they look so good. Otters are one of my top all-time favorite animals, and I just love this one. It looks so big and squishy and amazing, and I think it would be perfect. It's something that I want for me, and then I can also consider sharing it with the baby. But if you have not checked out Sarah Elizabeth Kellner's patterns, I highly recommend you do. I've made a couple of them before, and she has a number of free patterns. This otter is not free. It's $3.50, so very, very inexpensive. But yeah, I really, really want to make this. I've had it saved for a long time to make it, and I think that I need to just make it happen now. So that's the last of the toys. So now we're going to move on to the shawl section. And the first one is a pattern that, again, I have had saved and have wanted to make for years now. Probably like 5 to 7 years. Maybe not quite that long. Maybe like 5-ish years. And it is the Hansel Shawl by Goodwin Johnston. And it is a kind of traditionally inspired Shetland hat shawl, and it has that feather and fan stitch pattern in it. If you watch my, I believe it was my podcast episode that I just did, I talked about how much I absolutely love the feather and fan stitch. Oh, it is so beautiful, and I love this pattern. It's got a little bit of color working in it, and it's a full version and a half version. The full version is a full square, and then the half version is the triangle version. And it's a lot of garter stitch, and it just looks so beautiful. And I have wanted to knit this for so long. And this it's a paid for pattern. So that's the first shawl. The second shawl is another one that I've wanted to knit for a bit, but it seemed like kind of an investment in time and energy because it's massive, and it's the What the Fade shawl by Andrea Mowry, and it is a huge, oversized, fingering weight, triangular shaped shawl with brioche in it, and it would be a labor of love. Let's be real here. It takes a lot of yarn. It says between 1,900 and 2,400 yards of fingering weight yarn. Like, that's a lot of yarn. And I will say my favorite style of shawls are definitely the really like big, cozy ones. I'm not a big fan of the tiny little ones that go around your neck or the single skein shawls. I wouldn't wear them. I like blanket shawls. That's my vibe. And so this is one that I've saved into my favorites because it's one that I want to make at some point because it just looks so big and squishy and comfy. And then the next one, this one is a free pattern, and I love the shaping of it, and I love the fact that it is such a good use of scraps or advent calendars or mini skeins or things like that. And it is the Fading Stripes pattern by Beta Jezik, I believe is how you pronounce it. And she is the hand dyer behind Hedgehog Fibers. She has a whole collection of patterns on Ravelry, and they're all free. Like, that blows my mind. They are all free. And there's a number of them that I would like to knit. This one was one that I think was fairly recently released, and I saw it and I want to make it so badly. It's a crescent sort of a shaped shawl, and it looks so good. And I like I said, I think it's so lovely. You can pick one main color and then use a bunch of different scraps and odds and end pieces for the striping throughout, and I think it would just look so good. And it is a garter stitch shawl. Again, I love garter. So I highly recommend you check out the rest of her patterns as well, just because they're all free, like, and they all look so good. And then the last shawl, again, this is showing off my favoritism for the sort of feather and fan styles knitting stitch. It's the Wildwood shawl by Andrea Mowry, and I love this one. It is definitely on the smaller side. It's kind of a crescent shaped shawl, and I just love the different color play throughout. The design, the colors that Andrea picked are just beautiful. I absolutely love them. And it's mostly, honestly, because of the stitch pattern. I really, really, really like that stitch pattern. So this one is one that I could see myself making sooner than the What the Fade shawl, just because it seems like a little bit less of a commitment. Let me see here, give me just a second to get my row switched around. The other thing I love about this is that how quickly these little squares work up. They're just so mindless. It's amazing. So that is all the shawls, and then I have 2 sock patterns, I believe, and then all of the garment patterns, because goodness gracious, I want to make all of the garments. So the first one that we're going to talk about is a collection of socks by Olivia of This Handmade Life, and it's the Flora collection. And I love this one because unlike a lot of Olivia's patterns, this one is all just about the texture. She has a lot of kind of lace stitch socks, and I personally, for socks at least, prefer cabled, or not necessarily cabled, but like textured socks. And I really love this collection because it's all like just textured socks, and I think they look amazing. And I've had them in my library for a minute now, and so I want to, with some of the drop sock yarn that I just recently purchased, I want to make up at least 1 or 2 of the socks in this collection. And so 3 sock collection pattern, so I recommend that you check that one out. And then the other sock pattern is a new discovery for me. I love this one so much, and I want it so badly. It is the Wee Field Mouse Socks by Sarah L. Kelly. Again, this was another one that I discovered around the same time as the Woodland Bean animal toys. I don't know what I was looking for or looking at on Ravelry, but it brought up some really good patterns. And this is a color work sock with this adorable little mouse on it that's hiding underneath of a leaf in what appears to be like a rainstorm sort of a thing. And it is so cute. I want this so badly. And then there's this foot portion of the sock, and then right before the toe decreases start, there's a whole section where it's like toadstools and mushrooms and things. And it just looks so good. And I want it so badly. But again, this is another one of those that I have socks that I need to finish first, and then I can cast this one on. Like, this is a treat sock pattern for me. I haven't really done any sort of colorwork socks, but my goodness, I have to knit this one. I have to. It has to happen sometime sooner rather than later. Hopefully this year. I think that would be amazing. Section is all about the garments, because goodness gracious me, like I said, I want to knit all of the garments. Oops, I dropped a stitch here. Hold on, let me fix this, and then I will gush about the garments. So I've been watching a lot of different podcasts, one of which is the Crayabea podcast with Rebecca, and my goodness, the woman can knit so quickly. I feel like every week she's got another sweater that she's finished, and I'm just like, how? How do you do that? You work full-time too. Like, how do you possibly do this? You knit so quickly. I think part of it is that she's not really knitting fingering weight sweaters, which is pretty much the only type of sweater that I have knit, surprisingly enough. It's one of those things I want to branch out of this year. I want to do a bit more like DK weight or worsted weight sweaters, just because fingering weight sweaters take so long to do. But I absolutely love Rebecca's podcast. She's so much fun. She's Scottish, and I love all things Scotland and Scottish, and so that was definitely a big contender in my continuing to watch her podcast, because she has a lovely accent. But anyway, so she has been knitting a ton of different garments, and then there's a couple other people that I've been watching, and they've been knitting all the sweaters, and I just want to make all the sweaters, even though it's ridiculously hot in Tennessee and definitely not sweater knitting weather. But that's okay. If I can knit them all during the summer, then that means I'll have them all ready for me in the fall. But the first one is one that I've actually been wanting to knit for quite some time, and it is the Clandon sweater by Amy Loudon? By Amy. Who is I think it's, oh no, that's right. She has the Little Tailorist podcast, and then she renamed her yarn company to Dandelion and Dogwood. That's what it was. And she dyes beautiful, beautiful yarns. Unfortunately, they're a bit out of my budget because she lives in the UK and I live in the US, and shipping right now, it is bonkers. But the Clarendon sweater is just gorgeous. It's very much like kind of a textured yoke sweater pattern, and she released it probably a couple months ago, 3 months ago now, and I've really been wanting to knit it, but again, it's been kind of waiting for some of my other projects to get off of my needles. But Gaina of Tales from Cuckoo Land, highly recommend you check out her channel. She does a lot more vlog style videos with the occasional kind of podcast vlog in there. She test knit the pattern for Amy, and she made her version where it was textured. She carried on the textured stitch all over the entire sweater, which I wouldn't do. I personally do really like the just having the yoke textured, but goodness, her sweater was so beautiful. And she kept talking about it, and I was just like, I want to knit this pattern so badly. So that's the first one. The second one is the Even Dune pullover by Kate Davies. There are so many of Kate Davies patterns that I really want to knit. I have a whole collection of them in my favorites, and I really want to knit a bunch of them. What I love about the Even Dune pullover is that it looks like a very simple, classic, I think it's a raglan. Let me see if I can tell here. Yeah, it looks like it's a raglan. Yeah, and it has stripes in it, but it looks like it's just such a classic striped pullover, and it's in DK weight yarn, and it just looks so lovely. And here in the pattern it says, Even Dune is a Scots word for straightforward, an ideal description of this top-down pullover with crew neck and raglan shaping. Knit in a bold stripe sequence or modify and make your own. I really like this one. This one is one that I discovered kind of more recently. I was kind of looking through Kate Davies' collection of patterns, and it looks so good. And then there's the Even Dune cardigan, which I'm also very tempted by. It's basically the same thing. It's a very classic, simple, I think it's crew neck. I didn't pull it up here for this, but I love it so much. It looks so good. The next one is actually one that I am planning to knit sooner rather than later, and it is the DRK Everyday Sweater by Andrea Mowry. And I say that I'm planning to knit it sooner because I am currently test knitting a sweater pattern for my baby boy, and I purchased enough of the yarn to be able to also make a matching DRK Everyday Sweater. I can show you the yarn really quickly. It's the Pearl Soho Good Wool, and I think it's teal twilight or twilight teal. And it's this beautiful, like, kind of heathered look to it. I really love it. So the DRK Everyday Sweater is one of those that's going to be happening pretty quickly here, just because, you know, I want to have a matching sweater with my baby, because I think that would be really cute. So I think, oh no, that was in a blog post I wrote. I forget where I've put stuff up. I was going to say I'm thinking about making my husband and the baby matching hats. So if they have matching hats, I'll have matching sweaters. So it'll all work out. Then the next two patterns are actually petite knit sweater patterns, and I want to knit them so badly. The first is the Festival Sweater by Petite Knit, and I really love this one. It almost has like that little bobble detail for the stripes. And the other reason that I really love it is that there is a kids sized version, and it would be adorable to again have a matching sweater, or possibly to reverse the colors. So the adult size one that she has there, it's just in 2 colors, and then the kids size, I think the contrast stripes are in like 4 different colors. But wouldn't it be the cutest thing ever if you had the adult size where, like, let's say the background was blue and the contrast was yellow, and then the kids one, the background was yellow and the contrast was blue? That would be really, really cute. So I want to knit that one, and then the other one is the No Frills Sweater, and I really love this one. This one is definitely heavily inspired by Rebecca of the Cray Bear podcast. She's knit about 6 of these at this point, I think, and they all just look so beautiful. It looks like such a classic sweater pattern, which is kind of what it's supposed to be. It's the no frills sweater, and it just looks very plain and simple, sort of slightly boxy, sweatshirty sort of a thing, and I feel like I definitely could use more sweaters like that in my wardrobe. I have a lot of ready-to-wear thrifted cardigans, but not very many sweaters, and I think that I would do really well to have a few more just classic, simple, basic sweaters in my wardrobe because, goodness, I get so cold in the wintertime. It's kind of ridiculous. And then the next one, this one is actually one that I talked about on my most recent podcast episode. It's the Tin Roof Tee by Yamagara. Again, this is a new to me designer that I just recently found out about. Please go check out her pattern. She has so many beautiful ones. It was hard to limit it to just one that I wanted to talk about. But I really, really like how this tee looks. It just looks so, I don't know, kind of boxy, classic. I really like it. And I have yarn in my stash that would be perfect for this because I have more single skeins of hand-dyed yarn. So I would not have enough to make any sort of a full-size sweater with them. But with this one, with the color blocking, I think it would be so interesting. And I love the fact that this is knit from like side to side. I've wanted to try one of those garment constructions for so long just because it seems so like bonkers, wildly different from like the typical sort of top down or bottom up construction. I just think it would be so fascinating to do that. So this one is one that I expect to make sooner rather than later again. And then the last pattern that I'm going to talk about is the Summer Souffle by Laura Penrose. She is, she has the Knitting Pickle podcast here on YouTube, which I will link down below. Links for everything will be down below. And this one is one that I'm planning to cast on pretty much as soon as I finish the test knit that I am working on for Sophie of the Knit Pearl Girl. I'm test knitting the summer, or the crescendo summer top pattern, which I literally have like 15 stitches to finish binding off, and then I have to weave in the ends and block it and it's done. But, oh goodness, sewn down hems, you guys. I think I've been working on this one for about 3 days because it just, there's so many stitches. And you have 4 steps per stitch. And when you have over 200 stitches, it takes forever. It looks beautiful. Like, it looks amazing. And the funny thing is, I can't remember if it's on the Summer Souffle or if it's another one of, no, it looks like the Summer Souffle is just ribbing. There's another pattern, the other test knit that I'm doing for the baby sweater, that one has a sewn down hem, and there's a couple of other ones that either I was looking at making or something and they all have sewn down hems and I'm just like, oh, what are you doing to yourself? But the Summer Souffle pattern is one, again, this is one that I talked about in my last knit and chat video, I think, that I have the yarn for it. So I'm planning to cast this one on pretty much as soon as that other tee is off the needles because I just want it so badly. I have been in love with the souffle pattern for a while, and when the original one came out, I thought it was beautiful. Not really practical for my lifestyle with the kind of see-through mohair edition that she had done. And then she released the chunky version, which again, kind of not my vibe. I don't like super duper duper chunky yarns. And again, as I have pretty much only made sweaters with fingering weight yarn, going from a fingering weight to a chunky bulky yarn didn't seem like a good jump to make. I feel like I need to make a few more DK or worsted weight sweaters in between, something like that. But this is one that I'm definitely planning to cast on very soon because it just looks so amazing, and I think that it would be really nice to be able to have that to wear probably later summer. I feel like here in Tennessee it's a little bit too warm for a hand knit tee. Yeah, I feel like it's just too toasty. That is all of the patterns that I am going to be talking about today. I have gotten about halfway done with my square here, I think. I'm typically much faster at knitting than when I'm not sitting here talking the whole time. But I feel like I'm looking quite flushed. It's pretty warm up here, and I need to go. I'm going to be making chicken cordon bleu, if you are interested to know. Chicken cordon bleu, some green beans, some sweet potato fries, and a blueberry crisp that we're going to have with some dairy-free whipped cream, and I'm so excited. It just sounds so good. I'm not typically one, I don't love baking or cooking or a lot of the housework things. They're more of like, I'm trying to teach myself to love those things more, and to figure out what I need to do to make it more enjoyable so that I appreciate them more. But every now and then I'll get a cooking or baking bug and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna make this. Because I know how to cook and I know how to bake. I was taught very well by my mother how to do those things, but it seemed like it was one of those things when I was a kid that it was so necessary and we had to do it, and it had to be done all the time sort of a thing. I come from a very big family, so food was in constant demand. That I feel like I kind of got a little bit burnt out when I was in my teenage years and such. And so as an adult, I'm trying to work through and figure out how to do things in my own way so that I can love them and want to do them, because I do love being a housewife and a stay-at-home mom. Like that has always been my end goal. But I really want to work on figuring out how to yeah, just love doing the sort of housewifely mom things like cooking and cleaning. And so it's something that I'm working on. But anyway, that was a tangent. So I am having one of those cooking, baking bugs, and I'm just going to make all this food, and I'm really excited about it, and it's making me hungry thinking about it. But to be fair, I'm pregnant, so I'm hungry all the time, so that's not anything too different from normal. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get that started. Yeah, Micah should be headed home in about 30 minutes, so he'll be home in about an hour, so that should give me time to get at least the blueberry crisp done and in the oven and some of the other stuff prepped. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and listening to me chatter about all the things that I want to knit. If there's any projects that you want to knit, or if there's any any patterns that you are just loving on Ravelry or elsewhere. I know that not everybody can use Ravelry, but if there are any patterns that you are just absolutely loving and cannot wait, you're just itching to get those cast on, I would love to hear about it if you want to leave it in a comment down below. Yeah. Thank you so much, and really quickly, thank you so much for all of the lovely and amazing and wonderful comments that you all left on my last knit and chat video. It just made me so happy. It was so amazing to be able to kind of have a conversation and talk about, you know, budget yarns and all of that. It was just the loveliest thing and made me want to make all of the knit and chat videos. But I'm gonna close things off here because I'm peckish and cooking, and I already went over all that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon on the next one. Bye.